morning, good afternoon, or good evening to you, you thirsty bunch of beer drinkers, whenever and wherever you're tuning in from. Thanks for pressing play on this episode of Between Two Fermenters, a podcast brought to you by Great Lakes Brewery. I'm your host, Troy Burtch, and we have a fun episode about beer names, label creation, social and content marketing, and more coming at you. Whether you're a seasoned connoisseur, a homebrewing enthusiast, into Ontario beer history, or just someone who enjoys some good old breezy beer banter, Between Two Fermenters is your go-to deep dive for all things beer from an insider perspective. Big thanks for all the feedback from the first show. We absolutely love hearing from awesome people, and there's no shortage of congratulations and nice messages from our supporters out there who love the episode with Peter Bullitt and Mike Lackey. And we learned a lot in that episode. We learned about Michael Lackey can outrun, or a kid actually could outrun him with a keg, and Peter Bullitt was a gymnast back in his early days. So if you're listening to this episode, we're still looking for images. If anyone has some archive photos of Peter Bullitt in a gymnast outfit back in the day. So if you didn't hear that episode, go back right underneath this and listen to the stories we could tell, episode 1 from Between Two Fermenters. We're going to have Lackey and Peter back on again. A lot of people did reach out and say they'd love to hear more stories. And these two, 33 years in the industry, they have a lot to tell, so we'll get them back on. But today on the pod, I'll be joined by Fabian Skidmore and Charlotte Payno, the art director and the content marketing manager, respectively. Everyone knows Great Lakes out there that's listening. Our story, artwork, the names, the labels, they make up a huge part of who we are and what we've become over the 37 years of our existence. And to be honest, the last 12 years since Fabian Skidmore joined and took over, our look and our brand have really put us on the map. So we're going to take a deep dive, as they say in the podcast world, with Fabian. And then I'm going to be answering one of the most asked questions we get here at GLB. It's something in all my time since we launched this beer. How did you come up with the name? How did you come up with the look? And that's Octopus Wants to Fight IPA. So we're going to spend a little bit of time telling that fun story, because everyone thinks, naming a beer is easy, and coming up with the look and the story behind it is easy. It's not, hint, but with Octopus Wants to Fight, it pretty much fell into our lap. So we're gonna crack a knuck, we're gonna buckle up and get on with the show. But first, a word from our friends.
Where can you get 20 taps of GLB beer, killer pizzas, or one of Toronto's best smash burgers while watching the game on big screens, playing trivia with your team, having lunch with your mates, or a night out with the gang?
Right here at the GLB Brew Pub, our second Great Lakes Brewery location in downtown Toronto, with fresh beer coming daily from the brewery in Etobicoke, plus exclusive beer brewed in-house. It's like a GLB tap takeover every day. We've got events and specials all week long.
Come visit us on Lower Jarvis by Sugar Beach. Follow GLB_brewpub on Instagram, or check out our menu and events online at greatlakesbrewpub.com.
All right, we're back with Fabian Skidmore. First thing first, Fabian, our art director here at Great Lakes. Tell us about your last name.
It's the coolest last name in the world.
And
There's not much more to say.
What was it like in public school, high school?
Kids don't know what's cool,
Yeah. So let's crack a knuck. Thank you. Yeah. So this episode of Between Two Fermenters, like last one, is fueled by our Canuck Pale Ale. And let's get into Fabian Skidmore's history with Great Lakes. But a little background on this guy. He was the longtime bar manager of a place called The Only Cafe on the Danforth. Quit hitting the table there, would you please? Yeah. And The Only Cafe on the Danforth. I don't know if you've ever heard of it.
Let's take a walk down to the Only, drink until our kidneys fail.
Fabian likes to tell people he was there. It's a beautiful bar, Great Lakes supporter, and that's where Fabian came into the Great Lakes existence. So he was freelancing in beer, doing some graphic design work, and one day in 2012, he started bugging Great Lakes to say, you guys need to do something about your brand. So he came to work part-time with us after 6 years of just doing freelance. And then in 2019, for carpooling reasons, Fabian jumped in the car with me, and we started his full-time career with GLB. So welcome to the podcast, Fabian Skidmore.
That's good. Thanks for being on my show.
We're going to talk a lot today about the beer names that you've been involved with, label creation, and a little bit about copy and pasting. And if you're ready to jump in, let's go.
Let's go.
All right. So we just celebrated our 37th anniversary, and I was looking through the old images of our brands, like going all the way back to the beginning. Tell us about why you pitched GLB so hard on working for us as a freelancer back when we were turning 25. That would have been 2012.
Well, I was buying beer for the Only Cafe, and
I've heard of that place. You worked there?
I used to work there.
Okay.
It's true. But the beer from Great Lakes was so good, I thought. And I fell in love with Crazy Canuck, as it was called at the time. But the problem was it wouldn't sell. And I thought it was because of how it looked. And it's not that it looked bad or anything.
No, it did. It did. You can say that.
But every Great Lakes beer that I bought looked totally different, like it was from a different brewery.
Yeah.
And so there was clearly no identity. So I kept bugging my rep to let me have a go at doing a label or.
Yeah, that Crazy Canuck can came out in 2011. It used to be Canuck Pale Ale in the bottles. 2011, we came out with the can, and that looked like either an energy drink or like a really cheap something.
That's what I thought.
Race car stripe on it.
I thought it looked like a discount brand.
Back then it was $2.50 a can. And even then, that was one of the cheapest or best valued products in the province. Mm-hmm. But yeah, the quality didn't match what was on the label.
Correct. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I remember driving around the K car. Do you remember the K car?
Oh, the Canuck K car.
And
yes.
It looked just as bad as the can. But so you convinced the rep back then to get a meeting with Peter Bullitt, the owner. And so what happened? How did you get that?
So they were coming up on their 25th anniversary, and they weren't liking what they were seeing so much from whoever else it was at the time. I apologize. So they said, well, why don't you have a go at that? So I did this nice, like vintage wine label for the 25th anniversary bottles, and folks dug them.
Yeah, I remember we had the very first one. We were labeling it by hand, so we did something like 10,000 bottles of Robust Porter sticker label by hand, and that was your first real label for the company, correct?
That's right.
Yeah. And then you were doing, you redesigned the logo. That was pretty much
the
big,
logo
the big
and
thing.
what's currently the brand kind of was born out of that. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, the logo on that is a lot different actually than the current one. But
it was more distressed.
But you can see where it came from.
Yeah. Yeah, 2012, before that change, Great Lakes had the Coca-Cola script logo. They had the pig ribbon that we call it logo. They had the Mechanics logo, the rectangle one. Yeah. And even going back and looking at like the red leaf or the Crazy Canuck cans, like 4 different fonts and 2 different logos on them. So
at least 2 different.
So when you came in, you convinced Peter to let you do the 25th anniversary beers, but then also redesign or build a new look.
I took that stamp logo that I put on that vintage look, and I really worked it.
Yeah,
and cleaned it up, and really, it took me quite a while actually, because it was always something off.
Well, that's
until I got it, and then that's it.
That's what I wanted to ask you, the evolution, because those 25th anniversary beers, and then taking a stab at the year round beers back then, Devil's always looked a lot different than. Devil's Pale Ale, that is, a lot different than the other brands. How difficult was it to then say, I want to take one brand and make it look like all the other brands, but get that consistent look across the board?
Yeah, it was challenging, but that challenge is about finding a thing that is common, that should be common in all of them. And the main thing was, if you look at the can right now, it's the Great Lakes Brewery around the top. Mm-hmm. So, Peter was very insistent on not changing the artwork for some older brands. And I said, that's fine. I'll just put the Great Lakes Brewery around the top. and put the old artwork in there, and it tied it together.
It did. And one of the template, though, that you created was a round logo, whether it's GLB or eventually Tank 10, and then back to 2017, the 7-barrel. They all have a home on the can, so they're easily recognizable from a distance. So a lumberjack, an angry octopus. We have dogs, a bulbous hop-shaped torso man, monsters, lots of different characters in the Great Lakes portfolio. I know it's not just you, but you do the majority of them. How do you come up with the characters? How do you think of the characters?
They come from different places. It might be, Mike Lackey going to the bar, going to hang his coat up on the bar hook under the bar there and go, oh, look at that. It looks like an angry octopus. And voila.
That's not how it came to be, though. We'll tell the story later on. But sometimes that's how.
That's just as an example. Like and sometimes it's, I think that's a cool name for a beer. And so then my job is to write a story around it and commission an illustration from Patrick.
So our artist, just for those listening, is Patrick Corrigan. He still is with the Toronto Star. He does their Saturday political cartoon. But before just doing the Saturday one, he was full-time with the Toronto Star for 30 years or so. So he joined us in 2017. So just for some background context there. But speaking on RoboHop, we have a question from Anthony, came in via Instagram, and he wants to know, how did that come to be? How did you guys back then create that character and come up with the name and all that stuff?
Well, it was the name first, I believe.
Yeah.
Just RoboHop. It's funny,
A pun. We were a big pun brewery back in the day.
Yeah. Audrey Hopburn,
Harry Porter.
Yeah, and now I can never say these things without falling into that.
Yeah, no one knows who, or at Great Lakes anyway, no one from the vintage years knows
right.
Audrey Hepburn. It's Audrey Hopburn.
Yeah.
But how did RoboHop and the design come to be in the label and the evolution of the label?
Well, the name was given to me probably by Lackey. Can't remember. But and I just told an illustrator, Garnet Gary, this is the name of the beer. See what you could come up with. And he came up with this really funny drawing of like a RoboCop, but with a hop torso and holding a beer. And, and as everything that I do is push the evolution of the brand. So, we cleaned up the illustration, made it more simple. I put a nice background on the can. So it's really interesting to see the evolution of a brand that way.
And speaking of Garnet, Gary, he was very instrumental with you in the early days of creating our characters and giving them personalities. And he left the company in 2017. But shout out to Garnet. You guys worked really well.
Just amazing. You just like that, you'd give him a name, and he would bring it to life. And just in the funniest possible way.
He did one of my all-time favorite GLB labels, by the way. It was Ice Hole Pale Ale, the original Gordy.
That's probably my favorite one.
It's beautiful. So Anthony, RoboHop, he was asking to when we're going to come out with it again. I don't know if you know this, if we plan on brewing it anytime soon.
Not that I know of, but you never know. Yeah. 2 weeks ago, we thought we'd never brew Hanlon's Point again, but here we are. We just released it last week. So,
well, maybe a month ago.
Maybe a month ago.
Yeah. I want to know, when you go to the LCBO or beer store or grocery store, wherever you happen to be, and you see alcohol on the shelf, what is one thing that the industry could be doing better from a branding or an art direction?
Branding, yeah, it's tricky. One thing that I see a lot of breweries doing is just torching what they had and coming up with something totally new. And often I can see it, and it's my lens, of course, but okay, they paid an agency a lot of money to do this, and now it doesn't have soul,
Yeah.
Often. Sometimes it's a great job they do with a total rebrand, but I would like to see on shelves beers from the same brewery look like they're from the same brewery.
Yeah.
You know?
And that's one thing that you worked diligently on in the early years, is to make that happen, that consistency across the board. Color schemes. And yeah, I think the one thing that, you know, stands out when I talk about this with you is I remember sitting around a table with some Ontario brewers, but we were in San Francisco, and this one brewer was saying, oh, every 2 years I change my label entirely so that the LCBO, you know, customers will buy it once. They might not even like it, but they'll buy it again in 2 years. And that was his approach to creating labels. And what do you think of something like that, changing the look every couple of years?
I don't know. I think it's, you know, we're not a huge corporation, and whoever you're talking about there probably isn't either.
They don't exist anymore.
Well, there you go. They definitely aren't.
It didn't work out so well.
But it's important for us, you know, as smaller kind of, you know, family-run businesses, to really try to stick with something, just so that it gets ingrained, because we don't have the luxury of doing billboard ads and, you know, the can on the gardener, you know, things like that, you know.
Yeah, what was that, $250,000 or
Yeah.
something? It was crazy. Yeah, we'll never be able to
Yeah, I
do
mean,
that.
just check my pocket here.
So later on, we're going to be talking with Charlotte Payno, our content marketing manager, and the stories we tell using the characters we've created is something I think to our benefit. So maybe you can speak a little bit about when you're creating the label and the back write-ups of the cans. Are you thinking about that before, you know, with the ideation that, hey, if I come up with a good character and the write-up ties into the look on the can, that's something our marketing team, which consists of 2 people, can tell the world?
Yeah. You know, whether it's a name that comes first, or a story that comes first, or a drawing that comes first. Sometimes that happens. But it has to make sense on all those 3 levels, if you know what I mean. So if it's a cool name, I'm like, okay, but Octopus wants to fight. Nobody's going to know what that means unless they get the code hook reference. But let's make it something else. Let's make it a story about we have a pet, you know.
It's not just
an
a beer.
octopus.
It's not just a beer. It's a whole. It encompasses a story. It's
Right.
the beer. It's the look. It's the feel. It's, you know, fun is one of the things we value at Great Lakes, and it ties into that. And so, a new beer coming up, whatever it might be. Let's say it's a pale ale. When you hear the brewer say, "Hey, we're going to do a new beer," what comes first? Do they say, "Hey, we have an idea for a pale ale. Here's the name," or what's the collaboration look like right now?
Well, often they don't have anything for me except for it's a pale ale and it's 4%, you know. So I tried to get them to maybe extract something from them, like, what are you thinking about this, you know, and trying to get something, at least a starting point for me, so that it is collaborative. But sometimes that just doesn't happen, and sometimes they have it all, and my job is really easy.
So when it doesn't happen, I'll do my best Norm Macdonald and say, so where do you get the ideas from?
I get them from Ralph's.
Okay.
Ralph's on 18th and
Perfect. I was waiting for that. All right. We're going to cap this off by give us the top 5. Give us the Fabian top 5 labels or characters that you've been involved with.
There's a few different directions we go with the labels, and I was thinking about that. Because there's the nice clean ones, like the clean classic ones, like Keller beer comes to mind. We just rebranded that from one of the Alphabet series into like a classic German looking thing.
Elegant.
Yeah. And then there's fun ones that I really love, like Burst is one of my favorite of all time. It was really great to tie in that whole pop art thing. And for like, and the illustrations, like again, Garnet's Ice Hole.
Yeah.
Like that's one of my favorite of all time.
It's an iconic look. Yeah.
It's so iconic, and, you know.
So that's 3. You got 2 more.
Oh, 7 minutes fast.
7 Minutes Fast.
Yeah.
Collaboration with the Only Cafe.
That-
Have you heard of that place?
I used to work there, in
You
fact.
used to work there. Okay.
And what else?
You did one. It was your own thing. Not 7 minutes. Sorry, the Sins, all Sins, or
Oh yeah, no outside help on that one. Yeah,
I can't remember.
All My Father's Sins.
All My Father's Sins.
Yeah,
And it was
double imperial stout,
Yeah.
barrel aged, and it was this nice stained glass thing that I kind of.
and it was a 330 ml bottle, I believe, too. Yeah, it looked.
It
really-
was
yeah,
die cut, yeah,
it
die
looked
cut
amazing.
label.
Yeah. I know you didn't ask me, but I'm going to pretend you did. And the favorite label I think that you've done in my time working with you is probably Cleaning Up Canuck. I think,
Yeah.
I think it just really stands out. I think it, in the new color, red, a lot of people are bugging you saying, why'd you change the red? But it's the exact same. I just think Gordy Levesque, the character on the label, you did such a great job of cleaning everything up, making him stand out. And on store shelves, he has a presence on store shelves, which is great. Mm-hmm. And I love the Haze Mama that we did. So that was one of the brands that everyone in the brewery really worked together to come up with Haze Mama. And I remember sitting around with Patrick and you at the Only Cafe. Again, you've heard of that? Yeah,
I worked there.
He worked there. It's on the Danforth. And we sat there, and Patrick, he's so talented. He made that doodle right in front of us, and that's where he gets his nickname, P Doodle. But that little sketch became what we now know today as Haze Mama, and the write up came fluently, and. So anyway, I just wanted to share that with you because I thought that those two labels you just knocked out of the park.
Well, also, Octopus Wants to Fight getting cleaned up like the same
as like Canuck and the colors, yeah. So you know what? Do you want to stick around? We're gonna have a break and hear an ad, and then I'm gonna tell the story about Octopus. Do you want to stay on the mic and
sure.
we'll go through that?
Yeah.
Perfect. All right, so we're gonna take a quick sip of our Canuck Pale Ale, hear an ad, and then come back with Fabian Skidmore.
That's good.
So you're here because you love beer, right? Nothing beats the right beer at the right time with the right group of people. And at GLB Etobicoke, we're all about making that experience happen day in and day out. Join us for our full slate of events on our cozy heated patio with Euchre Wednesdays, Trivia Thursdays, and live music Fridays, all hosted by our certified stellar taproom team in the heart of South Etobicoke. Join the community and tip back a frosty one while you're at it at 30 Queen Elizabeth Boulevard.
And we're back, and Fabian Skidmore's staying around because he hasn't finished that beer. He's about halfway through, and we're going to tell the story about Octopus Wants to Fight. It's how the name, how the look, how the story came to be, and what better guy to have around than one who probably doesn't remember the original story. So Octopus Wants to Fight, we get it asked all the time. Charlotte, who's coming on later, she gets a lot of the inquiries from the public, and I used to do the job that Charlotte's in now, and that was one of the most frequently asked questions. So here we go. Octopus Wants to Fight. Do you remember the story, Fabian?
Not exactly.
No. I believe
Maybe not at all.
it was 2015, so you would have been still freelancing with us at the time, so you would have been working from the Only Cafe on our stuff, and that's on the Danforth, 972 Danforth Avenue in Toronto.
Yeah, where I used to work.
I used to work there. Okay. And there was a day that we're all sitting, and we used to call the marketing office, we called it the clubhouse. And again, there was only two of us back then. And Mike Lackey comes upstairs and he says, we need a name. We need a drawing. We have a new beer. We're like, amazing. Okay, what is it? This is giving us a challenge. And he says, well, we need it in 2 weeks because it's already been a week since we brewed it. And that's how it used to be at Great Lakes. They would just say, hey, we have a new beer, no information to anyone, and go make something of it. So we sat around that office all day long. We knew it was an IPA. We knew it was a fuck up, and we had nothing. We had nothing going for us. We had a whiteboard and we were jotting names down. And then finally one of us said, like, what is this new beer? How did it get created and why is it coming out so soon? And do you remember Callie? He used to work at the brewery. He was the head brewer for many years. So he came in one morning. He was the 4 a.m. guy, and he came in and he was going to brew Karma Citra. Karma Citra was at that time a smaller seasonal product that we did. We'd do it for the retail store and it would sell out, and then we'd do another batch maybe 6 months later and it would sell out, and so we created some demand for it. Well, we put it in bottles one year. Do you remember working on those 650 mil bottles of IPA?
Oh, I do, yeah.
And so we did it to the LCBO, and then for whatever reason, Kelly thought, okay, it's Karma Citra Day. He went to brew it. So he brewed the base of an IPA. When it came time to add the hops in the boil, he calls up Lackey saying there's no Citra hops in the brewery. And Lackey's like, you're supposed to be brewing red leaf lager. And so, holy shit, now what are we going to do with this? Lackey's like, okay, I'm coming into the brewery. We have this new hop called Mosaic that we want to use. So let's play around with it. So that's how that beer came to be. So we're up in the room. He's telling us all this, and we say, we can't come up with anything. That night we go home, we're all, having a chat about different ideas, and it was around midnight, and someone posted on Twitter. You remember Twitter or X or whatever? That was a big thing back then. There was no Instagram, and you still Twitter, the little blue bird. And someone posted that they were drinking RoboHop, an Imperial IPA that we do. But back then it was 9.5%. And they were drinking pints of it at the old Victory Cafe on Markham Street.
Like serving full 20-ounce pints.
Serving full 20-ounce pints.
Oh, dear.
So someone tweeted that they're drinking RoboHop at the Victory, and they posted a picture of the coat hook inside a bathroom stall and said, too many RoboHops, this octopus wants to fight me. Or this drunk octopus wants to fight me.
Right.
So I took a screen grab and I sent it to the team and I said, there's our name. And for whatever reason, everyone was up around midnight, and then someone texts back saying, drop the drunk, and we have a name. And then we got it to you. You got it to Garnet. You guys put your heads together, and within a week, we had a name, a story, and a character.
Well, again, Garnet that was a perfect example of what we were talking about earlier, where Garnet just nailed it. He just, one take, and it was like, wow, that's it.
And then do you remember how you guys came up with the boxing gloves and the bandages? And
well, it was like, I did show him your screen grab of the coat hook. Okay. I remember that. I was like, maybe we can make this into a character. He said, yep, on it. And he did it. Yeah.
And there you go. That's the story of how Octopus Wants to Fight came to be. That was 2015. And that became a beer that was only available here and there. And it wasn't a full-time brand at Great Lakes until 2018.
No. And the write-up on the back, too, was really funny how that came about, because we could have easily just said, it looks like a coat hook, looks like an octopus, or whatever. But I can't remember who came up with it. But
I think Lackey did come up with it. He was like, Octopus is a jerk, and
Pet Octopus.
Our Pet Octo is a bit of a jerk, and 88 IBUs, 8.8%, and we fabricated the story to him, and he's now mad at us, and I think that's how it all came to be. But it's now like the number 3 to number 2, sometimes even surpassing the number, or into the number 1 status for single craft beer can sales at the LCBO, which is phenomenal. And to think it was at one time a mistake beer that we just rode.
There was lots of those.
There was lots.
We're out of Citra. Let's throw this in.
Yeah. Well, yeah, you make a base IPA.
Call it something else.
Mess around with the hop bill, and which is how everyone does it with New England IPAs now. But that's the story of Octopus Wants to Fight, and you've recently updated the can. It has the green all the way, and it looks so spectacular. The colors pop, and
it's the evolution of the brand, like we were talking about earlier, and it's going to be even more cleaner, and it'll pop off the shelves even more.
It's the brand that people just love the character, they love the liquid, the price is right, and so it was great sharing that story together. And
can I say one more thing about that? There's no black around the top anymore. Before anybody says anything, I did not change the green. It looks like it's different, but it's the same green. Okay?
Charlotte's going to get all those questions soon. People have actually, to be honest, people actually started emailing us about Canuck. They started saying, oh, you changed the can. Did you change the liquid too? Because we feel it's like not the same. And it is the same. It is the same beer. It's the same beer. It's the same beer. So, Okay, thanks, Fabian, for coming on and telling us all about your time at the Only Cafe. I mean, you used to work there, right? Okay, just for the record, Fabian Skidmore worked at the Only Cafe on the Danforth. We're going to come back with Charla Payno, our content marketing manager, right after this. It's always awesome to catch up with Fabian. I drive in with him to work every day, but still to listen to him talk so passionately about his work at Great Lakes and all the art stuff that he does and how involved he is with label creation, character creation. It's great to hear. And now we're going to talk with Charla Payno, who is our content marketing manager who gets to tell the story about all the brands on social media. Charla joined the brewery in 2022. She came back from England prior to GLB, where she was doing content management for Ghost Kitchen brands. She has a background in culinary. Her favorite beer is Monty Mild, followed by Citraddiction. And Monty Mild, Charla, is in the store right now.
It is.
Yeah. And you're not drinking one right now.
I'm not.
But you're enjoying our lovely non-alcoholic, zero carbs, zero sugar, zero alcohol.
Pop.
Yeah.
I mean, I kind of wish it was a Monty Mild. I'm not going to lie.
Well, we'll go back to the brewery after and have one together. So, Charla, what does a content marketing manager actually do?
Well, I like to think of this job as a mix between advertising, journalism, and entertainment on a bunch of different platforms. So my job is basically to make sure people know what's happening at the brewery and promote our beer in a really fun and engaging way. I do the newsletter, I work on the website, I do socials, I do other activations, I'm taking photos, I'm making reels. It's a very creative job, and it's really good to be able to talk to kind of our supporters and talk to the public.
You do a lot. You do.
Nah.
A lot of people, and I'm not going to ask you this question, and this is a statement more, but a lot of people do think that, you do social media, you take pictures and you just talk about the brand. But I did this job for many years at Great Lakes, and it's a lot more than that. So yes, you do a lot, and we have a lot of brands, and we do a lot of events and a lot of community partnerships, so many things in between. So how do you find the time to capture, document, and share it all with the customer? Like, where do you find that time?
You have to stay really organized. Also be able to kind of think on your feet and be able to kind of change your schedule at a moment's notice and just kind of capture what's going on in the moment. Because you don't know when maybe something just spontaneous is going to happen that you really want to capture and share with people.
And how fun is it, though?
Oh, my goodness. It's the most fun. It's super fun.
You get to go to everything.
I get to
if you want to, but...
Yeah, I get to go to events. I get to take pictures of beer, talk to people about beer all day. It's great.
And you say that you like to stay organized, or you need to stay organized. What platform do you use? Any tools or things to help manage that organization and scheduling?
Yeah, I'm a huge fan of Trello. I find that helps to keep me organized. I sometimes don't have the time to update it, so that's kind of a catch-22.
Yeah.
But Trello is pretty good for staying organized. Other than that, Post-it notes.
And we do use posting platform as well too. That
Yep, definitely. That saves my life. It means I don't have to do as much on the weekend, so I can schedule something for a Saturday or Sunday.
Do you ever get that dread that, I'm gonna post something, and then on the weekend we're gonna sell out of the brand I'm posting about, and then boom, I'm gonna get, hey, this is no longer available?
All the time. Yeah. But usually I don't know about that until it's too late and somebody says it's not on the store or something. Yeah. So you just have to be prepared to kind of overcome those challenges as they come.
Cool. Any advice? I'm just looking at my notes. I put advance. Any advice? I used to get asked a lot. What kind of advice would you give to someone that is coming in to do this kind of role? Again, it's like you described, you're writing a lot of content, you're taking pictures, you're doing video, you're meeting with people, you're doing tasting. There's a lot to go into it. So what advice would you give to someone that wants to do this for not just beer, but an alcohol brand?
In general, I would say just like soak in everything that you can learn from everybody. there's so many creative skills that you can use in this job. Definitely you have to love what you are talking about, because it becomes your life. You're on social all the time. You're constantly talking about the thing that you're promoting. So definitely you have to love the company or the brand that you're doing it for. I would say just keep asking for more. Just keep pushing the boundaries of what you're doing and keep trying different things, and, stay innovative.
And what's the best part of doing this job, other than going to all the events and talking to the people?
I think the best part is that I get to work with everybody at the brewery. Every single department, every team I work very closely with. So, I get to work with Peter. I also get to work with, the production team in the tap room. I get to, take videos of finance and people in finance if they let me. So it's just being able to kind of touch every part of the brewery, which is great.
Nice. So with all that said, do you look to some other brands, beer or alcohol, or just other businesses that do it really well from a social media side of things?
I really like to follow Town. Town Brewery is great.
They
especially
are. Really, and we're buds with them, eh?
Yeah. So their reels are amazing. Their video work is great. As for aesthetics, also Aveling. And Tiny Rebel from the UK is great. For content, just reading the captions from True History is always super fun. I also really like Badlands is very good too.
All beer. So you're just looking at other beer.
Okay, non-beer. There's a company called Sprout & Co. It's a salad and bowl restaurant from Dublin. Their reels are amazing. They're like recipe reels that are really entertaining and beautiful.
Just gets you really like geared
hungry
up for like a bowl. Yeah, I love bowls. You know who makes a good bowl? Do you know who makes a good bowl?
Who makes good bowl? Me?
Beer Town.
Oh, Beer Town makes a great bowl.
I love the Yucatan bowl. So thanks so much, Charlotte, for coming on. It's always awesome to talk to you about everything that you do at the brewery. But I got to have one question, or I got to ask one question before you go. I just thought of it. What do you do to unwind? Because this is, again, it's a stressful job. And so at the end of the day, what do you do, like, just to decompress?
So everywhere that I have my phone, I'm basically at the office.
So everywhere.
So everywhere I'm basically at the office. So I like to go to places where your phone's not allowed. So I like to go to yoga because you're not allowed to bring your phone into the studio. A movie theater would work. Like going to a play or a museum, that would be great too. Anywhere, that I can just leave my phone at home and not look at it.
That's tough.
It really is.
All right. Thanks so much, Charlotte. And we're going to go to a break, and then we're going to come back with Cole from our lab, Cole's Notes. So stay tuned. Time to shift gears and head to our man in the lab, Cole Raiskums, for another edition of Cole's Notes. You can't see what I'm seeing, but Cole, that white lab coat is looking clean and crisp. And I've never seen a cleaner pair of safety glasses. You can tell the guy's serious about his job. So welcome back to the pod, Cole. What have you got for us today?
Thanks for having me, Troy. Welcome back to Cole's Notes, everybody. Today we're going to be discussing what pH is and why it's important to brewing. So before we jump into brewing chemistry, let's have a quick lesson in water chemistry. pH is measured on a scale of 0 to 14. With every number below 7 being acidic and every number above 7 being alkaline. 7 is considered neutral. So when we're measuring pH in a liquid, we're measuring the concentration of positively charged hydrogen ions in the solution, denoted as H+. The more hydrogen ions there are, the more acidic it is, and vice versa. It's also important to note that pH is measured on a logarithmic scale, meaning that each number is 10 times more concentrated than the last. So, for example, a solution that is pH 5 is 10 times more acidic than one that is pH 6. However, a solution that is pH 4 is 100 times more acidic than one that is pH 6. So, for a bit of context here, lemon juice is around pH 2 and hand soap is around pH 10. Now that we have some basic water chemistry out of the way, let's talk about why pH is so important to brewing. So for starters, there are many important chemical reactions that happen in brewing that wouldn't occur without the right pH. The enzymes which break down starch in the mash need to be around 5.4. For Fermentation is at its healthiest around pH of 4.5. And haze and foam in beer are at their strongest when the pH is above 4, which is why many sours don't pour with a nice, frothy, long-lasting head. There's also safety reasons why we want a low pH. Many foodborne pathogens are not able to survive at a low pH. Since beer is considered acidic around 4.5, it's one of the main reasons why you can't get food poisoning from beer. We also utilize a variety of acidic and alkaline cleaning products throughout the brewery to ensure that there's no cross-contamination and every beer enters the clean tank. So when somebody tells you that making beer is pretty basic, you can correct them and say, actually, it's pretty acidic. Who knew that science could taste so good?
I always learn so much from Cole. I said that last time. Every time I talk to him, I hear something new, and I just love soaking in everything that he says. So with that said, welcome to Brewpub Corner. It's almost lunchtime while recording this, and I'm dreaming about that steak sandwich I devoured from the Brewpub yesterday. It was so good. So I guess it's time to welcome back Emma Worthy, the GM of our second location down on the east waterfront of Toronto. Hey, Emma.
Hey, Troy.
I just mentioned the steak sandwich, just dynamite. Any plans to keep that on the menu?
It won't be added to the menu because we try to rotate our sandwiches weekly, but we do have some exciting specials coming this week. So we have a roasted veggie sandwich, quattro formaggi pizza, excuse my pronunciation, but butchering the Italian there. And we have a tomato cream soup with mini grilled cheese side.
Oh, grilled cheese. You had me at grilled cheese. I love grilled cheese.
Me too.
I had something, I sampled something yesterday at the brew pub that I hear is coming to the menu. Do you want to just enlighten us on those little delicious treats?
Yeah, so we're adding a panko crusted Japanese hot dog. It's 2 of them for $10 starting Monday. They're delightful. Like you said, they're very Moorish, pair well with any of our beers. Adding a poutine, and adding deep fried onion rings.
Oh, nice. I heard a little bit of British come out of you there, the Moorish. So what beers would you pair with the Japanese corn dog or panko crusted corn dog?
Honestly, for me, I think a lager, straight up Great Lakes lager, perfect pairing.
Nice. And while I wasn't there, I heard the beer dinner was spectacular.
Yeah, it was a raging success. The feedback we got from all of the guests who were able to join us was the food was delicious. The pairings were exceptional, particularly the dessert with our PDA beer was just like it was a match made in heaven. And we have another one coming up on March 28th. We're already selling through our tickets, so I suggest people grab them while they can. It's a pretty intimate dinner. We're only selling 30 tickets at a time.
Nice. Yeah, nice and intimate. And that way you get to talk a lot with the brewer. And Peter was there at the last one, I understand. And he got some FaceTime with a lot of the people there. So did they go to the website or is there, they go to the website to find more information on the beer dinner?
Yeah, so it's on our website. We created an Eventbrite page for people to purchase their tickets. And yeah, you're right. It's a really good opportunity to chat with one of our brewers, find out more information about our brewing process. And then we have Peter there who is able to impart some of his knowledge.
Yeah, it's awesome. And you said it's March, sorry, you give the date again?
March 28th.
March 28th. Perfect. And it's only $50. So again, if you're listening to this, what better way than to, get to know our beers intimately and the food and the atmosphere and the people down at the brew pub than to get some tickets to go to that next beer dinner. So that's kind of segue into what we're trying to build down at the brewery or at the brew pub. We want to build community like we have here in Etobicoke, and we've introduced live music. And so maybe just give us a little word on how that's going at the brew pub.
Yeah, we're definitely seeing a lot more people come through for it. I've seen a lot of people stop and look at our posters, and it's gaining a lot of traction for our Friday nights. Next week, we have Max Winderski Trio coming. They've got quite a following, so we're expecting a full house. And then moving forward, we have a whole weekend packed for St. Patrick's Day. Every Friday is going to be packed in here, I think.
Amazing. Yeah, we felt there's a need for nightlife again down in the Queens Quay and Lower Jarvis area and the eastern waterfront. So really trying hard to make that happen for East Toronto. And you also introduced the karaoke Sundays?
Yeah, karaoke Sundays. So it's mostly been staff singing, but that's not a bad thing. We have a lot of theatre kids working here.
You still owe, well, you don't owe me $100, but I have to get down there to do the Gambler. So I want that $100 that I'll gladly put back into the.
We gotta hear your dulcet tones first, there, Troy.
Okay, thanks so much, Emma, for coming back on, telling us what's going on down at the Brew Pub. For those of you who haven't been, I can't stress enough. Get your butts down there, try the food, meet the amazing staff, and try the great beer. Thanks again, Emma. See you soon.
Thank you.
Around the industry.
So here we are with Around the Industry. There's a lot that's happened in the last 2 weeks since the first episode was released. We celebrated our 37th anniversary. We had cake. So a lot of customers came by the brewery and we served up some cake. We had a special little beer for people to try. We shared some archive pics and history on social media and launched this here podcast. We also had the Ontario government announce that they'd be freezing the increase on basic beer tax. So that's something that they've committed to since 2018. And it's good. It's good for the industry. But hopefully this will lead to some additional changes in structure and the tax modernization for us. So as I said last week, we're paying $79 a hectoliter up to a certain size. In Alberta, it's $10 a hectoliter. So we're really working on that. And it's good to hear that the provincial government is listening to the voices around the craft brewing industry. We've also released a number of beers. Hanlon's Point, as Fabian alluded to, Hanlon's Point Coconut Coffee Porter. That's always a huge fan favorite. It's got lots of coconut. It's got lots of coffee, 6.5%, and it's available right now. We brought back Used to Be Cool, and those are the New England Pale Ale that has, the GT Snow Racer, the Walkman bottles. We have a series of 4 or 5 different labels for that beer, and we came out with PDA. A Belgian Vit beer that has a whole bunch of fruit in it and hibiscus, and it's pink. It's a wonderful, very refreshing beer. And Delamimico, a beer that Matt bought, has really worked hard on. It's a really nice crushable beer. And all those beers are available at our retail store and at the brew pub and for home delivery. So there's our big plug on the beers. Euchre Wednesdays at the brewery. Come and play any Wednesday or sign up for the tournament on the last Wednesday of each month. Drew's Clues, Trivia Thursdays at the brewery as well. Live music Fridays at both the brew pub and the retail store and tap room here in Etobicoke. On Pie Day, March 14th, Pie Commission will be at the brewery with samples. If you haven't had Pie Commission, people listening, you got to do yourself a favor and seek them out. You can find them frozen at a lot of grocery stores across the province. Moving forward to St. Patrick's Day, we're going to have a concert at the brewery with Robert O'Neill live in the tap room, and I know there's something big happening down at the brew pub, and we're going to have a hop and shop market coming on March 29th with Sir Hops a Lot. So that's what's going on around GLB and around the industry with the provincial government freezing the taxes moving forward. That's it. That's all, folks. Episode 2 has moved from the mash tun to the fermenters. Today's episode was fueled by cans of our crushable Canuck Pale Ale, which you can find all over Ontario wherever great beer is sold. You can visit the brewery at 30 Queen Elizabeth Boulevard in Etobicoke or grab some delicious eats and fresh pours at our brew pub at 11 Lower Jarvis Street in downtown Toronto. We hope you'll join us again in 2 weeks when we drop a new episode. We'll be talking bar and restaurant sales with some folks that purchase beer and those that sell it to them. If you have any content that you'd love to hear us discuss on the show or just want to tell us what you're drinking, drop us a line at podcast@greatlakesbeer.com. Don't forget to give us a rating on any platform you're tuning in from. And until next time, please remember to keep tipping your glass of fresh GLB in the right direction. Supporting local never tasted so good.
To learn more about what's happening at Great Lakes Brewery, visit greatlakesbeer.com and subscribe to our weekly newsletter or follow Great Lakes Beer on your favorite social media platforms.